Hello everyone, this is Ashika, Assistant Professor, Computer Science Department, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Bengaluru. So in the previous session we have seen what are the different 14 foils rule principle and what are the drawbacks, right? So in this session we are moving for the next topics, that is human relation approach. So, how it is interrelated with the management? Why it is given in the management area? So, human relations approach, because in the management sector it says about the people are part of doing the things through the people. So, there is a need of human organization, human setup in the management. So, there should be a relation approach between them. So, according to Elton Mayo, is generally recognized as father of human relations school. So this is a person, Elton Mayo is a father of human relations school. So according to him, the principles should include social system, social environment, informal organization, and the group dynamics, and formal leader. So social system is about the organization in general as a social system composed of numerous interacting parts. The social system defines about the individual roles, how each person role should be occupied, and how is going to establish the norms but the different from those of the formal organization. When number of people is working for the specific task, the individual should have the specific what like each person should have some good features who is going to enhance the performance of the organization. So it is about the social system and the social environment, like giving the it should not affect the jobs of the workers. So environment should not affect the job of it should not affect the job of the workers, and the informal organization group act dynamics is needed, informal leaders. So these are the human relation approach. When we come for the behavioral approach of the each person in the organization, so this person in a behavioral approach, it says about the motivation between the human relation, and it also includes a group of activities emerged by the productivity was correlated, and the eliminations tested experiments were done on a group of works. So it should develop the behavioral approach to the management, and it should have the post productivity of the two groups were compared. When it was found, it should not eliminate the affected production marginally. And Mary Parker Follett, George Humans, Rennie Slickett, Swiss Argyris, Douglas M.C. Grork, Abraham Maslow, Kurt Lewin, Chester Bernard, and Warren Bennis. All these writers will say about the behavioral approach in a different way, which should be illuminated the miscellaneous or some of the conflicts is going on between the workers. It should not necessary for the individual to have the knowledge and the training, but it should give the basis of the legitimacy is granted to his authority, and it makes the organization independent of the people, besides making the people's understanding the more accurate. And these peoples are also selected on the basis of the credential and merit and paid according to the optimal. So behavioral approach, it includes all these things. They are also called systematically working people. There is no traditionally held up by the members of his family. So the behavioral approach, it also says about the lay down following conclusions. What are the conclusions it is having is decision making is done in a suboptimal manner. So the decision is not only done through each person, it is done in a suboptimal manner because of the practical and the situational constraints of the human relations of decision making. And behavioral scientists encourage the self-direction of the control instead of impose the control, and also include the scientists consider the organization as a group of individuals with a certain goals, and it includes the view of the leadership mentality and communications, directing part, autocratic, like task-oriented styles may also be appropriate in certain situation. So they should suggest that different people react differently to the same situation, right? No one will act the same. So each people will have their different taste, different weaving. ideas, different weaving ideas. So they should suggest they should be able to, the equality should be given to all of the people who is come with the new ideas, and they should suggest the different people to react differently at the same situation. They should not abide that things, and they should also recognize that organization conflict and chance are inevitable. So this is about the behavioral approaches which has laid on the following conclusions. So when we come for the quantitative approach. So quantitative approach is called the management science approach. So what is this quantitative approach? Management science approach says this. So it is like approach is a fact production oriented, not employee oriented, as it claims to be many of its technology. Running canteens, social groups, trick workers into false sense of happiness, but the leisurely process of decision making of this approach cannot work during the emergency, right? So make an unrealistic demand of the superior and wants him to give up his desire. So this focus on the quantitative approach is one of the decision making and to provide the tools and technologies for the making the objectively rational decisions, and it should be able to start up during the Second World War, during the which each participant country of the war was trying to seek the solutions to a number of new complex military problems, and it focused on the quantitative approach is on decision making and to provide the tools and techniques for making the objectives, and this approach was based on the wrong assumptions. So facility discipline thinking while defining the management problems and establishing the relations among the variable innovation. So this implicit belief that every organization can be turned down into the big happy family. So the approach is widely used in the planning and control activities where problems can be defined in quantitative terms. So this is about the quantitative approach. Coming to the systems approach. What is the system approach says? So key concepts of the system approaches are like a system is a setup of interdependent parts. System support says that contribution can be summarized as follows. There is no correlation between improved working condition and high production. A worker's production norm is set and enforced by this group and not by the time and motivation. And it should not work should not doesn't work for money only, also non-financial hours affect the behavior and the repetition. So a system has a set of interdependent parts. So here a single unit and performs some function. Similarly, an organization can also be considered to be composed of four independent parts, namely task, structure, people, and the technology. So a system can be either open or closed. Open system is one which interacts with the environment, and the closed system is one which is independent of the environment. So here we can see that bank writing observation room. So involved in the deep observations of 14 men making terminal banks of telephone writing. One of the example. So results will be steadily revealed the group evolved its own production norms for each individual thing. So this is about the cross system approach. When we come for the contingency approach. What does this contingency approach says is there is no best way of doing the things under all conditions. So here it says about there is no particularly doing the things under all conditions. It is only having the things to be done in a particular related organizing things, and which is done already by the head of the department, then the first line department, and it also include that methods and techniques which are highly effective, and one situation may not give the same results in another situation. So the technique says that if it gives in the same result in the one situation, it will not be able to give the same in the next, right? So it will be unable to give it. And this approach suggests that the task of the managers is to identify which technique in the situation best contribute to the attainment of the goals. So how they are going to give the specific attainment to the goals. So in this session, we have learned about the first, firstly about the human relation approach, how it is going to be relatively approaching the humans in a social system, social environment, informal organization, and the group dynamics, the informal leader. Then behavioral approach, in a in different versions of the human relation approach, and scientific contribution to the development of the behavioral approach. Then it includes the behavioral scientists, and in a web of scientists how the styles of leaderships are taken up, and the quantitative approach it says about the trying to seek the solutions to a number of new and complex military problems, and it also facilitates the disciplined thinking, relations among the variables involved, and the system approaches it says about the system is a set of interdependent parts which together work as a single unit and perform some functions. Similarly, an organization can also be considered to be composed of four independent parts, namely task, structure, people, and technology. Then we finally come to the system can be either open or closed. It is an open environment, it can interact with its environment openly, or closed system is an which is independent of the environment. And the contingency of the approaches says there is no best way of doing the things under all conditions. So there is a like methods of techniques which is highly effective and which can focus on a decision making and provide the tools according to it, how they are going to organize the techniques and how they are going to approach the plans in a control activities where the problems can be defined in a specific manner, and how they are going to give a good surplus in the management, and they also give the productiveness to the system in the different activities of the review to the contingency of the approach. And this approach should also have the task of managers is to identify which technique in a situation is best to contribute to attainment of the goals. This is all about the contingency approach system and the behavioral approach of the um, management.